Every dignitary on the Galactic Council fell silent the moment the human entered the chamber, half of them because of curiosity, the other half because they simply couldn't believe Earth had actually sent him. Ambassador Mitch Halifax strolled through the arched crystal doors of the United Galactic Assembly with a swagger that had no place in a room where planetary alliances were made and broken. He wore aviator sunglasses indoors, chewed gum like it owed him rent, and, worst of all, had his jacket slung over his shoulder like he'd just walked out of a dive bar. His opening line didn't help. "So," Mitch said, clapping his hands together, "who do I gotta bribe, hug, or arm wrestle to get this war business sorted out?" Silence. Then, from the back row, the insectoid Chancellor Br Tilke clacked his mandibles in alarm. "Is this your envoy?" he asked, voice like clicking scissors. "Damn right," said Mitch, grinning. "Special Envoy Mitch Halifax, formerly of the United Nations Department of Interstellar Relations. Currently freelance. But still representing Earth, I guess. They stopped returning my calls." One of the feline Darnathi diplomats whispered something that translated roughly to, "Humans have gone feral." And they weren't wrong. Humanity had spent decades ignoring the brewing galactic conflict. When the Threx Dominion invaded the Thalvani Accord, countless races took sides. Earth, meanwhile, had shrugged, gone back to arguing about coffee brands and asteroid mining rights, and left their seat at the table cold. Until today. Councillor Vera of the Avenari Confederacy stood, silver feathers twitching with anxiety. Earth has remained neutral for 37 years. Why break silence now? Mitch pulled a half-crumpled data pad from his jacket pocket and flicked it toward the table. A hologram exploded in the air, grainy footage of a Threx cruiser firing on an unarmed Earth cargo freighter. Explosions. Screams. A radio transmission looping. "Mayday, Mayday, this is the Solaris Dawn. We're under attack. Civilians aboard." Mitch let it play for 5 full seconds before reaching out and casually swiping it away. His smile was gone. They poked the wrong bear. A murmur ran through the chamber like wind through dry grass. "We regret the incident," rumbled General Carrix of the Threx Dominion, his 6 arms folded in a show of control. "Your freighter was in contested space." Contested? It was hauling fruit and toilet paper to a science outpost. "Your maps are outdated." "And yours are written in crayon," Mitch shot back. Gasped. The jellyfish-like Selenari shivered their tentacles. The Threx delegation rose halfway from their seats before General Carrix raised one hand to halt them. "This is not a matter for human retaliation," Carrix growled. "You have no stake in this war." Mitch smiled again, but this time it was a different smile. Cold. Calculated. "We do now." That was when he dropped the second bomb. Literally, in a manner of speaking. He tapped his wrist pad, and a new hologram shimmered into view. Massive ships, human ships, dropping from FTL above a distant star system. The system currently occupied by Threx forward bases. Mitch looked around the table. "We're entering the war," he said. The room erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, some into comms, others into the air. The Threx delegation surged forward, only to be stopped by security drones. Amid the chaos, Mitch turned to the small, nervous-looking aide standing behind him, a fresh-faced lieutenant named Eliza Tran, who had joined Mitch's mission expecting mostly coffee runs and the occasional interstellar protocol briefing. "Hey, LT," Mitch said casually. "Still got that peace treaty draft in your bag?" She blinked. "Yes, sir." "Cool. Hold on to it. We're gonna need it after things get messy." Her voice was uncertain. "Sir, are you sure this is the best way to?" "Best? No. But it's the human way." Back in the chamber, the delegates began demanding emergency sessions, threat analyses, and security realignments. The human presence had changed the calculus, upset the equilibrium. Earth, thought to be aloof, was now a live wire thrown into a fuel depot. Mitch turned on his heel and began walking toward the exit like a man who'd just flipped a table and dared the room to stop him. As he passed the Selenari delegate, the jellyfish being reached out a tendril. "Do you truly think humanity can sway the tide of this war?" Mitch leaned in close and whispered, "I think we're the tide no one saw coming." And then he was gone. Behind him, the Galactic Council wasn't just stunned. It was afraid, not because Earth was dangerous, but because Earth had finally cared enough to show up. You said. The Threx retaliated within 48 standard hours. Mitch Halifax watched the report stream across the table inside Earth's hastily reactivated Deep Space Command, a massive orbital fortress once intended for defense, but now being retrofitted for command and control. Planetary scans lit up with red flares across Thalvani and neutral territories. Outposts were burning. Refugee ships cluttered trade lanes. And at the center of it, the Threx Dominion issued a single, scathing message. Humanity has violated interstellar neutrality. You will be met with cleansing fire. Dramatic, Mitch muttered, sipping terrible coffee. Did they outsource their war declarations to theater majors? Lieutenant Eliza Tran stood stiff at his side, barely keeping pace with the hurricane of diplomacy, strategy, and improvisation. We've just received confirmation, sir. Threx forces hit our forward line in Vita Prime. One of our carriers took heavy damage. No fatalities, but they've declared Earth a hostile combatant. Yeah, well, we kinda asked for that, Mitch said, scratching his head. All right, so Plan A, show up, drop a few ships, bluff like we've got a secret weapon. That didn't work. Did we ever have a Plan B? He gave her a look. You think we ever don't have a Plan B? She blinked. You mean you have one? Nope. I meant humanity in general. We make one up while things explode. That's when the real scramble began. Earth's allies, what few existed, were cautious. Some were amused. Others horrified. The Martak swarm offered conditional tech support, the Darnathi would send a few cloaked scouts, and the Orlani agreed to lease drone platforms, at criminally inflated prices. Still, the one group no one had considered reliable, humans, were now issuing commands and drawing up battle lines. And, somehow, people were listening. It was the same day Mitch got the call from Admiral Singh, the no-nonsense fleet commander of Earth's interstellar armada. Mitch, she said, face crackling over comms, I've got a fleet I wasn't ready to use, a dozen alien warlords calling me for favors, and a civilian envoy playing chess with the galactic balance. What the hell is happening? Ma'am, I prefer checkers, Mitch replied. Then you've already lost. What do you need? 5 carriers, 3 drone swarms, and someone to make sure the Threx don't glass another hospital ship. Singh sighed. And you'll deliver. What? A miracle. No. But I might have an idea. That idea came in the form of Earth's most embarrassing space program, Project Dustbiter. It had been mothballed years ago, dismissed as unfeasible. The premise? Miniature warp-capable drones with onboard AI learning loops, designed for high-risk infiltration and sabotage. Unfortunately, they tended to mistake power plants for karaoke machines, and once tried to disable an enemy ship by reprogramming its NAV system to chart a course into a black hole in interpretive dance. Mitch loved them instantly. Unpredictable. Cheap. Borderline insane, he mused, watching one of the test units somersault through a hangar while blaring Earth's national anthem through its chassis. Tran pinched the bridge of her nose. Sir, this is lunacy. No, this is human ingenuity, he said. We may not outgun them, but we sure as hell can confuse them. Soon, fleets of dustbiters were deployed ahead of every engagement. They faked signals, hijacked comms, turned Threx tactical AI into philosophical debate loops, and, most famously, reprogrammed a Dominion assault barge's sound system to blast 20th-century Earth metal non-stop until the crew mutinied. Mitch watched it all unfold with a bowl of popcorn. What we lack in elegance, he said, grinning, we make up for in noise and stubbornness. But the success came with risk. The Threx were adapting. A new dreadnought class had emerged, AI-hardened and designed to counter Earth's chaotic tactics. Worse, Earth's alliances were fraying. The Thalvani wanted to sue for peace. The Avenari were demanding Earth retreat before further escalation. And then came the transmission. A Threx warlord, Kovrak the Relentless, issued a personal challenge to Mitch. Not to Admiral Singh. Not to the human fleet. To Mitch Halifax. You throw chaos like a child with a grenade, the warlord roared. Come to Sector Raxus. Face me in the ancient rite. No fleets. No tricks. Just blood. Eliza froze. He wants to duel you. Personally. Yep. You're not a soldier. You're not even a trained diplomat. You once threatened to settle trade disputes with a drinking contest. Which I won, thank you very much. She stared at him. Sir, are you seriously considering this? Mitch stood, cracking his neck. Lieutenant Tran. I'm the guy who walked into the Galactic Council in sunglasses and declared war. You think now I'm backing down? He grinned. Prep the shuttle. The dueling arena on Raxus was nothing short of theater for the warlike. Jagged stone spires circled the blood-stained arena floor like the fangs of some ancient beast. In the bleachers, representatives from 24 species watched in stunned silence as Mitch Halifax, Earth's envoy, stepped into the pit with nothing but a borrowed armored vest, a stun baton, and a grin that bordered on reckless. Kovrik the Relentless stood across from him, a towering Threx warlord adorned in ceremonial plating and wielding a plasma-forged battle-axe taller than Mitch himself. The Threx's claws flexed, and his mechanical tail scraped the arena floor with the screech of metal on stone. You came, Kovrik rumbled, amused. I was promised a snack table after, Mitch replied. Also, I hear death matches are good cardio. The warlord laughed, a sound like grinding bones. You are either the bravest or most foolish human I've ever encountered. Why not both? The arena gate slammed shut with a resonating boom. From the observation platform above, Lieutenant Tran watched, fists clenched. This is suicide, she muttered into her comm. Admiral Singh's voice crackled through. He refused an extraction team. Said something about winning the war with vibes. What the hell does that mean? Tran's reply was lost in the thunderous clang as the duel began. Kovrik came in swinging. The plasma axe carved arcs of molten air, each blow powerful enough to shatter bones. Mitch dodged left, ducked right, rolled under an overhead slash, and then jabbed his stun baton uselessly against Kovrik's knee. The weapon fizzled. Oh good, Mitch said, backpedaling. This one's defective. The crowd booed. Someone hurled a fruit. Kovrik roared and charged. Mitch dove aside, crashing into a support pillar. Blood streamed from a cut above his eye. He grinned through the pain. Fun fact, he said, staggering upright, the first recorded human duel was over a sandwich. Technically, this is less stupid. Enough, Kovrik bellowed, charging again. This time, Mitch didn't dodge. He held up a hand. Wait. Wait. Kovrik paused mid-swing, more out of confusion than mercy. Mitch raised a tiny object between two fingers, a dustbiter drone, barely the size of a baseball. Its LED eyes blinked cheerfully. You know what this is? Mitch asked, grinning. Your toy. It's a backup plan. He whistled. The drone beeped, launched into the air, and let out a shrieking rendition of Earth's national anthem, at double speed. Strobe lights blasted from its sides. It projected holograms of Mitch's face winking across the arena. The crowd howled. Kovrik stumbled, growling in confusion as two more dustbiters zipped out from Mitch's vest. One painted graffiti on the warlord's armor, Terex, more like wrecked, while the other hacked into the arena speakers, replacing the dual horns with earth pop music. Enough distractions. Kovrik snarled, swinging wildly. Mitch barely dodged the follow-up blow, but this time, he dropped something behind, a small disc. It detonated in a flash of ionized mist, disorienting the warlord and sending him crashing into a wall. Tran's voice rang in his earpiece. That's against the rules. We brought interpretive war robots to a ceremonial duel. I think the rules left 10 minutes ago. Kovrik emerged from the mist, furious. You mock our traditions. I mock everyone's traditions, Mitch said, panting. Especially when they involve watching two people beat each other with glorified kitchen appliances. You insult my honor. I insulted a Martak queen to her face once and got promoted for it. You'll live. The warlord snarled, charging one last time. And that's when Mitch did the unthinkable. He dropped his baton, opened his arms wide, and stood still. Kovrik hesitated. This isn't a duel anymore, Mitch said. It's a distraction. What? Above them, orbital sirens began to wail. Earth's fleet, coordinated in secret, had bypassed the Threx forward lines. While the warlords had gathered to witness Mitch's fight, Admiral Singh had launched a surprise liberation of 3 critical sectors, freeing entire systems in hours. Threx Command was scrambling. "You challenged the clown," Mitch whispered, stepping close, and ignored the circus behind him. Kovrak looked up, rage shifting to realization. "You planned this." "I said we don't do things the best way," Mitch said, smirking. "Just the loudest." The warlord could have killed him then. But something in Kovrak's face changed. His weapon lowered. He stared into Mitch's bruised, defiant face and laughed, a deep, amused rumble that echoed through the stone pillars. "You are insane. Takes one to duel one." The Threx turned to the crowd and raised Mitch's hand. Gasps rippled. Some booed. Others cheered. "Let it be known," Kovrak declared, "this human wins." Above, Eliza Tran sat down hard. Admiral Singh's voice came again. "Well, I'll be damned." He pulled it off. No one knew it yet, but in that moment, the war had changed. Not with firepower. Not with politics. But with absurdity, audacity, and one very human refusal to play by the rules. "You said." By the time Mitch Halifax returned to the Galactic Council chamber, the Threx had withdrawn from 4 sectors, peace envoys were en route to half a dozen contested zones, and the phrase Halifax Gambit had entered the diplomatic lexicon as both a verb and a warning. The chamber was quieter than before. No heckling. No snide remarks. Just wide eyes and whispered side conversations in untranslated tongues. Even the always judgmental Chancellor Br-K seemed less cliquey than usual. Mitch walked in with a limp, a fresh bandage on his forehead, and the same damn sunglasses. The only difference... Now the room listened. Councillor Vera rose again, wings shivering. "Ambassador Halifax," she said carefully, "is it true you engaged a Threx warlord in single combat to secure a tactical distraction?" Mitch scratched his chin. Engaged is a strong word. I mostly ran in circles and annoyed him until my friends rearranged the battlefield." "And you consider that diplomacy?" He shrugged. "Worked, didn't it?" The chamber murmured. Even General Carrix of the Threx Dominion, looming in the corner like a thundercloud, remained quiet. Eliza Tran, now promoted, Field Commission, she reminded herself again with disbelief, sat near the rear, tablet in hand, tracking a dozen live negotiations sparked by the duel. Refugee convoys were receiving escorts. Ceasefires were being honored. Someone had even proposed a Galactic Misunderstanding Day to commemorate Halifax's antics. And Mitch. He stood center stage, already improvising again. "Look, folks," he said, addressing the assembly like a late-night talk show host, "I know Earth hasn't exactly been the most active player in your interstellar drama. We sat out a lot. We argued among ourselves. We built fast ships and dumb robots and spent years figuring out if Martian potatoes were technically vegetables." A few chuckles. "But now we're here. Not because we wanted a war, but because someone blew up our fruit freighter and woke us up from our nap." Laughter, a little louder this time. He turned serious. "We're loud. We're weird. We bring music to gunfights and sarcasm to peace talks. But we're also the species that survives. Not because we're the strongest, not even the smartest, but because when it's down to the wire, we don't quit. We show up." He turned to the Threx delegation. "You hit us. We hit back. But now we have a choice. Keep bleeding across a dozen star systems. Or stop. Right here. Right now. Let's build something better than body counts." There was a pause. Then Councillor Vera tilted her head. "And what would the humans build, Ambassador?" Mitch looked at her. "Probably a bar first. Then a bowling alley." Another wave of laughter. Even General Carrix grunted what might have been a reluctant chuckle. But it was Chancellor Br-K who finally leaned forward. "Your species has defied protocol, traditions, and common sense. Yet the Threx have paused. The Council listens. Perhaps chaos has its purpose." Mitch bowed low. "We prefer the term creative diplomacy." It wasn't a formal peace agreement. Not yet. But that day, a new treaty began taking shape, one that involved humans not as bystanders, but as participants. As catalysts. as agents of calculated unpredictability. Later, on the observation deck of Earth's diplomatic cruiser Ridiculous Hope, Eliza joined Mitch as they stared out at the stars, calmer now, less war-torn. "You really didn't think it would work," she said. "I figured I had a 50-50 shot of winning, of surviving." She shook her head, still in disbelief. "You understand what you've done, right? You redefined diplomacy for an entire quadrant." "I gave them a story," Mitch said. "Something to talk about instead of blood and borders. Stories are how we get past fear." Eliza leaned on the railing beside him. "Still, you could have died." "Sure. But I didn't. And now there's a ceasefire, 28 star systems are negotiating trade, and the Threx ambassador sent me a fruit basket with a note that said, 'You fight like an idiot.' I respect that." She smiled. "You're absurd. That's the most human thing about me." They stood in silence for a while, watching ships blink in and out of FTL, some bearing the banners of species that had been enemies just days before. Mitch took a deep breath. "Weird thing is," he said, "I think they actually like us now." "You think they trust us?" "No," he said, laughing. "But they expect us. And that's almost better. Means we're part of the story." Eliza smiled. "So, what's next?" Mitch popped a stick of gum in his mouth. "Well, I've got an invitation to a peace conference/karaoke night on Avanar 3. And Singh says the Martak Swarm wants to discuss a joint military exercise that involves something called tactical interpretive dance." She laughed. "You're not serious." "I'm always serious about dancing. Come on, LT. Let's make peace weird." As the Ridiculous Hope jumped to FTL, humanity's envoy leaned back in his chair, sunglasses still on, smirking into the void. The galaxy had called Earth chaotic, dangerous, even insane. Now it called Earth necessary.